Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on issue 5 of Batman 89. Now I'm sorry it's been a while since this one came out. I'm guessing because of after Superman 78, I guess they wanted to wait until the hype was a little bit down. And here it's pretty much issue 5 with the cover of Catwoman and her cats, and let's get on the story. It starts off with Two-Face interrogating one of the sort of Joker followers, saying, "If you figured out yet I'm not actually here in my official cavity at district attorney, think of me as a positive employee. See, they all have you dead to rights on the Lincoln job, enough to put you in jail for the next few centuries," and pretty much wants to kind of recruit what Jokers and that followers there were. And we kind of see how the guy points out that the Joker's old gang are either dead or in prison, and we see how that the Joker followers are either narcissists, psychopaths, and all that. We see how they end up meeting Two-Face, who says, "And that's the plan. If it works, we walk away with a fortune. And if it doesn't, I can promise you an evening of good, destructive fun. Any questions?" "I got a question. Who's your tailor?" So of course we see how Barbara has to kind of deal with not only the fact of Harvey Dent's descent to madness. We see how Gordon tries to talk with Barbara as soon as she goes to her apartment. And of course, we see how Barbara has a go at Jim for still having his smoking pipe, but he points out he doesn't really use it anymore and use it as a sort of security blanket. And we see how he points out that he's retiring from the police force and knew that Harvey Dent and her were the one good things left from the city, and knows that Barbara will make a difference. Of course, we see how Batman and Tim Drake go on patrol, but of course they manage to get away from the police, and after this we see how there's a big blast coming through, and turns out it's happened at the GCPD. We see how one of the officers end up getting fired, and turns out Harvey Dent's got snipers and that. And we see how Harvey Dent says, "We're in, gentlemen. This station is all yours for the next 10 minutes. Spread out, live your dream, and if you want, I'll be in the evidence room." And of course, we see how Gordon sees that Two-Face, his henchmen, are coming into the building. We see how Harvey Bullock and that are the only ones that are presumably left. So we see how Gordon activates the signal. We see how Robin decides to use the motorcycle and that. And of course, we see how Batman takes down Two-Face's henchmen. And we see how Batman decides to get Gordon to safety by getting him away from the building. But of course, we see how Robin takes down one of the snipers. And of course, we see how Two-Face says, "Time's up. Move out. Hey, scumbag, end the line." And we see that he shoots Bullock. And we say, "Enough, darling. Grab your bags and Harvey Dent. Drop your weapons. It's not going to happen out my watch." And of course, we see how Batman tries to throw the batarang, but of course ends up hitting Gordon by mistake. And of course, says that he knew this gadget would come in handy, as he's tested it before. And kind of gives Batman an option to let Gordon and him go, or so. And we see how Batman chose to save Harvey Bullock, who's slowly dying. But of course, Tim Drake manages to save Batman just in time, and managed to get away with the Joker's followers' henchmen, who are now Two-Face henchmen, tied up, who are snipers. So of course they do some investigating on Dent's work, and now have to try and figure out where Gordon is. And turns out from the Lincoln job, Two-Face has given money to half the people of the city, from Otis, from the community at the barbershop, and so on. And of course, we see how Gordon tries to sweet-talk his way out of Two-Face to get Batman a signal to where he is. And of course, showing the show of his former self. And of course, we see how Selina's has got intel on the sort of radio system from the GCPD, and so does Batman. And we kind of see how Batman is talking with Drake, and turns out they're keeping intel on waiting for when Two-Face is coming. And we see how Bob is trying to play along and trying to talk with him. But of course, wants to kind of put him under arrest to make sure he doesn't cause any more harm. And we kind of see him trying to say, Barbara, we both know there's no vision of reality. We watched you pull that trigger, and I have your father. You what? And of course, we see how Catwoman shows up to try and take down Two-Face, but of course, we see how Two-Face tries to get away, with him saying, she betrayed us! She betrayed us! Survive, you fool! Survive! And we see how Gordon talks with Two-Face about that she was a cop, she was doing her job. And we see him calling him out for what he's become, and nothing more than someone using the flick of a coin. And saying, happy now, old man? Yes, Harvey, thank you. And of course, we see how Batman comes face to face with Two-Face, and this is the story. So I think here, it definitely works. I think it definitely shows the two personality sides of Two-Face, and showing you what we could have gotten had Billy D. Williams been Two-Face. Showing you that, yeah, there was such wasted potential for him to have not have been the iconic character. And I think the story definitely deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.